Relax and get loose while I put you up on game. The Figure Booth with Josh and Nate. This that podcast for those in the know. Batman vs. Iron Man, how would it go? We talking one of a kind, collectibles. Mezco Toyz are respectable. It's unacceptable if it's not in the packaging. Nate don't take pics if you ain't rapping it. Nate's dirty tricks are always happening, but damn it, man, don't you be stressing. Round here we believe in plastic confessions. We trying to figure out the figures that's gonna stand the test of time. That G.I. Joe handmade hit me in the spine. There's perfection in the way that these toys are made. But I also wanna know, do I pick Wade or Slade? So this is where I come to kick it with the guys. The Figure Booth. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Welcome, Toy Fam. You have made it to another episode of the Figure Booth, here where we talk about the ups and downs of the modern day collector. We go over pre-orders, weekly hauls, and we even do interviews with active community members in the action figure world. My name is Josh, aka Prime to the First. I'm joined by my friend and co-host, Nate.
Hey everybody, this is FigureFan_Nate, and you've reached episode 55, which we're calling Turning the Page.
Oh, very clever on that name, Turning the Page. I wonder who could be our guest this week. I mean, there could be some hints laying around here in the background, possibly.
What is that? A lot of Mezco boxes back there.
You know, I'm kind of a Mezco fan. Even though just a couple episodes I was, breaking up with them. Like I was breaking up with that girlfriend from high school who cheated on me, and I'm like, hey, get out of here. And now, we're back together. Maybe Mezco, please. Thank you for the pink skulls.
Yeah, and it's still taking your money, just like your old girlfriend, right?
Damn you.
Yeah, but this guy, he is very active in the toy community.
Yeah.
I think if you are a collector of toys or Mezcos specifically, you definitely know who he is. He's got his own weekly show that he does, and he also has a YouTube channel. So we wanted to have him on. Pick his brain. He's been a long-time friend of both me and Josh. So it's about time that we get him on here.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and introduce him. Who do we got on, Prime?
The one, the only, the Toy Paige. Stand up.
Hey.
Welcome to the Figure Booth, sir. Welcome to.
How you doing? Good to be here. Good to be here.
Standing ovation. Wow.
Yeah.
Everyone for you guys.
Oh no! I meant our listeners. They should be standing up. I don't even care if you guys are driving. Stand up for Toy Paige and like just pull over and stand up and bow. People are gonna be like, "What is that guy doing?"
Yeah, and then send Prime your insurance bill too after that.
Yeah. I do have to tell you, the champagne back here is very good while I'm waiting. I appreciate that.
We try to provide the best for our guests.
Mm-hmm. How you guys doing, man?
Is where Paige is hanging out right now.
Yeah. How you guys doing?
Doing good,
fantastic.
Paige. Yeah, really happy to have you on here, man. Like you said, we've been longtime friends. I've been following your stuff for longer than I can remember, probably about as long as I've been collecting Mezco. And you are kind of the Mezco aficionado. You're kind of the guy I go to if I have questions or if I'm interested in what's going on in the community or kind of your thoughts on what's happening. And I'm always going to your page for the pre-order updates. You're very generous in doing that. But there's more to you than just Mezco stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You have your own YouTube channel. You kind of do your own thing there. You're into toy photography. You collect other stuff as well. Don't be modest. You do some great photography.
Yeah.
So we kind of just wanted to break down a little bit and get to know a little bit more about you.
Yeah, good. Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. I really do. Thank you so much. I've been watching you guys' show the past couple of episodes. I mean, in its entirety, it's been very good. But the past couple of shows have really, it really resonated me.
That's awesome.
The why episode that you guys had, really
Yes.
good. I
That's
sat
awesome.
there and really good, man.
So what's your why, Paige? What started
My
it all?
why?
Yeah, what started all? Like, kind of give us your backstory. Were you always a collector from day one? What got you into collecting?
So I did it like anybody. I was younger and I collected, toys and stuff like that, comics.
Yeah.
And then I went into the military, and all that stuff kind of got pushed to the side. You have different responsibilities, and you're moving constantly, so you can't really take stuff with you. And then I got out, and I went to a movie store, and I saw a Play Arts Kai figure.
Mm-hmm.
It was Joker, and I'm like, wow, this is really cool. and I got one. And then I went to a comic place that we have here. It's called Gods and Monsters, and they had, I think it was Robin and Harley, and I'm like, these are great. And I got the Hawkman, and I took them home, and I started taking pictures, watching video reviews to kind of expand on it a little bit more. And I said, these figures are way too damn big. I can't take pictures of them. So I was like, I need to move to something 6 inch. And then I saw a not the black and white, but the black and gray Dark Knight Returns figure from Mezco. I got on eBay. A guy was selling that in a MDX, and he told me he'd sell it to me for 200, and I've been locked in ever since.
Wow.
I got lucky, man.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah, that Dark Knight Returns is what got me into the line too. Because I was collecting, NECA and other stuff, and I had like a Keaton Batman, but nothing that was. I guess back then there was something I can remember that was like really good for the Dark Knight Returns, and that's one of my favorite comics. So when I saw that, I was like, I don't know if I take a chance. It's $75.
Yeah.
Do I do that? It's a big investment. Nowadays, it's like,
You're like, I'm getting 3 sets of pink skulls.
Right. Now we're spending $300 on pink skulls, but that's kind of what was the hook for me too. Is like, wow, this is not only a great quality figure, but the tailored goods, are better than I expected, and it kind of changed the game for me. It's like this is sort of the new bar that has been set for figures. I still like other stuff, but there's nothing that really compares as much to a Mezco. It really had that kind of draw for me.
Interesting.
So, were you collecting other? I know you said you got a Play Arts Kai and some other things, but did you collect it all when you were younger, or is it something you kind of discovered when you got older?
Oh yeah, I was a huge collector as much as you can. VGI Joe, Transformers, all that stuff. Brave Star. I'm dating myself.
Nice.
Stuff like that.
I had a bunch of
He-Man,
Brave Star. Heck yeah.
Silverhawks, all that stuff.
Nice.
I collected everything across the board, and it's funny you said the price thing when I first got into Mezco, but the PX Punisher came out, and that was very pricey. And I was like, should I get 2 for the weapons? And my friend was like, you need to do it. And I'm like, no, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And now I don't even, like you said, I don't even think about it.
Right.
Just dropping that money. But it's nice to be able to collect things that you really enjoy. Because I remember as a kid, I had a nice collection. My parents got divorced, and then all that got thrown to the wayside. And so you kind of lose track of it. And so now I'm in a position where I can afford to do some of these things.
Yeah.
And I just try to sit in that pocket, enjoy collecting, enjoy what I'm doing, and I buy what I want to buy. So
it's amazing what you can become accustomed to, right? Like you talked about when you first think about purchasing that first Mezco, you're like, man, I don't know. Like, how can I justify spending this much on it?
Yeah.
And then 2 years or 3 or 4 years down the line, you're just throwing it at the screen. You're like, this is cheap for a Mezco. Sure, why not?
Yeah. But I always take in, like, you can't see it, but there's a table over here. It has like stuff that I want to try to do videos on, and there's stuff that I'll just sit here and play around with. And for me, like I said, I was prior military, and so I was a medic, and I was deployed quite a few times, and so I saw a lot of stuff, and some of that stuff resonates with people. And so as a form of therapy for me, what I do is I'll mess around with figures, or I'll paint, or I'll make diodes and stuff like that. And it's just therapeutic. You get to create something. You get to just decompress. And that's what I like about collecting. It's a little hard sometimes with certain things, like, of course, like groups and the internet. So you got to kind of filter out some of that stuff. But for me, it's been something I really enjoy.
I think we all need that kind of release, right? You need something to kind of break you out from your normal life. And that's what it is for me too. That's kind of what figures have always been, something that I can focus on that's just for me, that brings me that enjoyment. And then it turned into something else with toy photography. But you got to have that creative outlet to where you can express that side of yourself. Otherwise, I think we're all going to go a little bit crazy if we try to be super serious all the time, or you don't have something where you can just be yourself. Yeah. So I really resonate with what you said about like just having something to kind of latch onto and have like the creative outlet for. So, but for you, that expanded into other things like dial building and customizing. So tell us a little bit more about that. Is that something you still kind of dabble in? Do you do that very much? I
Oh
saw that you
yeah.
had that really sweet car I was going to bring up a little bit
Oh yeah,
later.
yeah. Yeah. So I had figures, and I kept watching all the influencers talk about you needed dioramas and stuff like
Mhm.
that. And so I actually paid a guy to make me a dio. And
Nice.
it's kind of like it's a really weird story, but there's a ending to it. So he made this dio for me. I paid him for it. I got the diorama, and I didn't like it. And I was like, I could do better than this. And the twist part about it is that I didn't know this, but he rushed this dio because he was in the hospital and he was sick. And
Mhm.
then later on, he passed away.
Mhm.
I still have the dio, but I was so like disappointed about it.
Mhm.
And so I had this diorama. I was like, I don't get it. He had time to do it. Why didn't he
Mhm.
just make it better? So I started doing it. And as I started doing it, I go, crap, this is very hard. And it made me have a better appreciation because I still use the PC gave me as kind of like inspiration. There's certain stuff that I can get from
Mhm.
it, and I look at it and I go, always got to start someplace. But this stuff, photography, dial building, painting, any of that stuff, it's a lot harder than people think and give credit to the artists who do it.
Mhm.
So like artists like you, Nate, I'll go and I'll look at your photos and stuff like that, and you gather inspiration from that. I go to Prime stuff because I remember Prime's work I first got turned on to because it was the arcade stuff, and I thought that was cool. And you just kind of like network and you find around who's
Mhm.
doing what, and you just draw inspiration. So it comes in a lot of forms, but I just want to try to dabble a little bit so I have a better understanding of collecting in the community as a whole, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
makes
and I
perfect.
think I think that's I think a challenge for the new collector stepping into it is really like kind of dabbling in different areas of the community where you're reaching out to photographers, customizers, dial makers, and really just using your own resources to kind of question yourself, can I really make this? And a lot of times it is much harder to make the dial because there's a ton of dial makers out there and the quality it varies. So where some are very decent, some are struggling, and some are it's just masterpieces. But then at the end of the day, I always tell myself, you end up getting what you pay for. And even when you do pay a lot and the quality's not that great, you take it
Hmm.
upon yourself. You're like, hey, I'm gonna learn the skill. And then as you're learning it, you're like, man, this stuff is really hard because there's a lot of there's just a lot of techniques and skills that is you don't know until you trial by error, right? When I
Yeah.
was making dials, it was I would see it and I would try to replicate it, and it took 10 times for me to get it right where I was finally satisfied with it. So a lot of times I think new collectors get really frustrated because they want their pictures or their dials to look exactly what they see posted on social media or whoever they follow, whoever they look up to. They're like, man, my pictures, I want them to be like that. Or my collection, I want to have the latest Mezco or the latest whatever figure. I want to be able to be at that level. And a lot of times
Yeah.
I try to tell those, but every once in a while, new collectors will reach out and say, hey, I want to get an arcade from you. It's out of my budget. I'm like, hey, you can't compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. Like, I've been doing this far way longer than you have. So
Yeah.
it's hard. You like pace yourself. It's be patient with yourself.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think it's like we talked about before. It's not about the equipment; it's about the skill.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't just go out and buy a nice camera
Yeah.
and a dio and then be a toy photographer,
Yeah.
or to Paige's point, you can't just go out and buy some foam and an X-Acto knife and some paint and you're going to make
Yeah.
this amazing dio. It takes
Yeah.
skill and learning that experience of what works, what doesn't work, and you kind of have to like hone your craft over time. But I applaud you for even taking the chance of trying, because I think a lot of people get defeated before they even
Mm-hmm.
try. They'll make an excuse like, oh, well, I'll never make it as good as Prime, or it's never going to turn out like Paige's post,
Mm-hmm.
So why should I even try? But that's where you're always going to lose if you go that way. Like if you don't try something, you're always going to be disappointed, or you're always going to think that it's not good enough. Just try it you know, and you might surprise yourself. It might be something that you actually build a passion for, and it sounds like that's kind of what it did with you, Paige.
Yeah, I love it. And I think it's cool because in any aspect of whatever I'm doing, whether it's like videos or whether it's collecting or dioramas and stuff, I understand like there's this standard road every artist takes to get there, but I try to like go out of that. And so my builds, if I did a build, I was like, I'll do something weird that I haven't seen somebody do yet. And those are where most of those challenges come from. Like I did like a James Bond one where it was supposed to be that
That was
barrel.
really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, but dude, that thing took me like 2 months. But the part about it was therapeutic, but it was also cool because I hadn't seen anybody, you know, I'm not
Yeah.
all over the internet, but I hadn't seen somebody do that.
Nope,
But I
you're the
was
only
like,
one.
yeah, but I was like, I have to figure it out. And so the challenge was there, and then to do something unique. There's another piece that I'm doing like right now. I've been working on it for a while. There's like 3 pieces, and it's just that trying to figure it out, and you get better as you go, more so than you think. I had a guy, he messaged me today about a diorama. I'm like, oh, why are you asking me? And he was, you know, like, you know, I was like, oh, there's
Paige's like, don't bug me.
masters. No, there's master builders out there. You're
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Right.
And he was like, and because I sent him videos,
Yeah.
because he asked me once, he said, he goes, hey, are you using a hot wire foam cutter? I go, no.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, what are you using it? And I showed him. I was like, it's an X-Acto knife. And I go, or a blade cutter. And he's like, I don't believe you. And so I drew something out and I cut it right in front of him. And I showed him. I'm like, you just have, you know, you have the right tools for it and you have the experience of how to do it. And it's satisfying to know that you can look at something and see that you created. That's another part that I like about it.
Right. Yeah, being able to look back and be like, hey, I didn't buy that. I made that myself.
Yes. The goal for me was always, you know, I used to be in a group that had like the whole premise was tangibility and everything in there is, you know, is practical. And I still take those principles along with what I'm doing now. And my whole goal was to be able, besides the figure, of course, to look at something and say, I did all of that myself. You know, I wanted, you know, for that whole complete accomplishment part. I posed this, I did this. And you know, I'm just still trying to practice in certain areas because, you know, but that's where the inspiration comes. Like I'll go to, like I said, I'll go to Nate's page and I'm like, oh, wow, you know. And I always ask somebody, eventually I'll say, how long have you been doing this? Because it's a good measurement of saying, okay, I'm here. This person took this long to do it. You know, it takes time to develop those skills. So
Right. Yeah, it definitely takes devotion, time, commitment to get there. You know, and dials aren't the only thing that you're doing, right? You do, I've seen you do vehicles before.
Yeah.
That sweet, I'll show it off here, the Aston Furious.
Yeah.
Austin, I know it's Aston. Sorry about
that was a pain in the ass, bro.
that was a Brad's car, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's this light sports car that they have. And I wanted something that looked kind of like a James Bond. It was supposed to be for Secret Agent Gomez. And so I took those things in the front. If you go to the front, the lights that they had in there, I didn't like them. So those are actual like bulb lights.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And so I drilled all that stuff out, but I didn't know how to do any of it. I actually hit up, I think 1 or 2 people. I think I hit up, of course, the Beltran boys. I asked them a question. And then I think I hit up another guy in the group. His name was Dez.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know how to paint a vehicle.
Yeah.
And I thought it'd take me a weekend, and it took me about 2 months.
and what was funny was I had a bunch of Brad's vehicles like in my eBay car. I was like, oh, I want to do this. Way before they announced the Casino Royale Gomez, only because like me and Jay Hernandez, like even when he did this whole video on 112 vehicles, and I've been hooked ever since then. I'm always on the look for 112 scale vehicles, and even like stuff like this where I can make it work. And then when I saw you post it, I was like, I emptied out my cart. I was like, I sat on this idea too much. this is perfect. I'm not even gonna bother.
Yeah.
But
You
I
wanna-
think that's what I admire about you. You're really methodical, and
Yes.
like when I think about you, Paige, it's like one quote comes to mind. It says, "Work hard in silence and let success make the noise." And I'm like, that always reminds me of you.
wow.
Every time I see that, I'm like, that's
Wow,
Paige
thanks,
right there.
man.
Yeah,
Thank you, man. You
because you
want to
never
know
know
a
what you're up
little,
to, but boom, when you bring it, I'm like, yes, I'm just like applauding your success.
bro? Always, man. Like I'm always trying to like even because I'm on the boards a lot, and so sometimes I'm not really too active, but I'm
Hmm.
always trying to work on something, like
Yeah,
whether it be videos, whether it
yeah,
be this kind of stuff. But when you meet your story that you just said, you want to hear something funny is I take a lot of pictures and I show like a little core
yeah,
group of
yeah,
people so they kind of know what I'm working on,
yeah,
because I've learned that not all the time
yep,
those things align, like you said. And I was just about to finish this, and somebody in the group posted a picture of it done.
yeah,
And I'm like, there's no reason to even
yeah,
show that I did this.
Oh,
And
man.
I felt like you did. And
yeah,
then my friend was like, no, his looks completely different. So I actually reached out to the guy
yeah,
and I showed him the pictures and I said, hey, I'm in the process of doing this too. I just want to let you know I'm not trying to like jump on
yeah,
what you're doing. I said, I'll wait like a week or two.
yeah,
And he was like, no, man, post it. Most
yeah,
people are kind of like, they're not, I guess clout hungry, or they don't really care.
yeah.
So you never know, man. And
Oh
it's your
yeah.
take on it anyway.
Right.
And recently, I've been getting like some messages where other people were like, "Hey, you inspired me to make my own arcade." This, and it's much harder than what I thought. I'm like, "Hey, kudos! You tried it, you attempted it. Like, keep at it. Like, hey, there's an abundance of individuals out there, and there's more opportunity than scarcity out there. So, by all means, I always encourage those reaching out, and it's awesome that they like just it's a form of acknowledgement where I had two people recently where they sent me a message like, "Hey, I just made this, but it was your page or what you said that inspired me, and I looked at some of your stuff, and I hope you don't like take to offense." I'm like, "Hey, by no means, like if it inspired you to do it on your own, tackle it. That's the way we learn."
So really quick question. So if that scenario comes up, because you are well known for what you do. If somebody reaches out to you and they ask you, is that like it's always kind of like difficult
It
to
is.
figure out what's acceptable and what's not,
Yeah.
especially with someone who does it and then also does it to as part of like work, is like
Yeah.
commission work. So I
Right.
don't
Right.
know. I'm always
Right.
wondering about the etiquette with that.
Yeah, I think
'Cause-
there's a fine line because I've also had other conversations where it starts out like it could be a potential client, and then they just end up getting all the information. They're like, "All right, cool. I just wanted to know so I can tackle it myself." Then it leaves a bad taste in my mouth, and
okay.
that sucks because it ruins it for anyone else that's more intrigued of, "Hey, I'm looking to learn because I want to do it myself." If you start out with that, and I've had other people who are like, "Hey, I want to do it. You know, what are some tips you can tell me because I want to make it myself."
Right.
I think just being completely transparent, at least with me from the get go, that works best.
Yeah.
Because then I know what the intentions are. You're either
Right.
seeking to learn or you're seeking just to get whatever knowledge I've acquired. And I'll give you my knowledge, but I've been doing this for so long that it's a little hard for it to transfer over just a DM.
Right. And
Yeah.
I'm sure if you saw somebody selling it, you'd be like, ah, that's not.
Yeah.
You're like, yeah, you're
Then
doing
it definitely leaves a bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's one thing to copy. It's another to say, like you did, Paige. You DM him. You say, "Hey, I had a similar idea." I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that two people can have an idea that
Right.
is similar. You see it a lot of the times in toy photography. But if you do that, you send the guy a DM. You're like, "Hey, I had a similar idea," or even you inspired me. I did my own spin on it. I think there's a certain way to kind of go
Yeah.
about that. And if you're trying to make it for profit, that's one thing. But if you're just trying to do it to share, that's another
Yeah.
thing. Like, "Hey, I really like your work. I have my own take. You mind if
Right.
I share it?" I can even, I do that sometimes with toy photography. Like, I love this shot.
Mhm.
I'd love to kind of make my own version.
Right.
And then I either make sure to tag them or I'll say it in my comments, like, "Hey, I was inspired by this guy. This is not my original idea." I think it's just all about how you go about it. you
Yeah.
know? How are you
Yeah.
broadcasting it? Are you broadcasting it as your own thing, or are
Yeah.
you saying like, "I was inspired and this is my own spin"? That
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
thing.
I think it's an etiquette. I think it's kind of like golf. You know how you're not supposed to make noise or walk around
Yeah.
when somebody's
Yep.
doing their putt and stuff like that. I don't know if there's a lot of community etiquette that
Yeah.
is either known, because like sometimes you have people that have been in the game for so long and maybe they don't explain it to younger
Right.
guys. But I've had that happen. I'll say it really quick. So I did a Mezco vapor shot, and I just wanted him sitting in a chair, and he had a crown on, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I'll just throw some stuff in there, and I was like, this is a good shot. It's awesome, and because I don't do a lot of shots, and so I put it
turned
up.
out great.
Yeah, because I don't do it a lot. And so
Yeah.
that was one of the things I was actually happy about. And I put it up, and a friend of mine, oh, wow, you are prepared. Wow. And so I put this up. This is not planned. So I put this up, and a friend of mine messaged me and said, hey, bro, there's Kadir, he did that shot already? I go, no.
Yeah.
And he goes, yeah, he did it. And I go, no way. And I was like, and for me, I have, that's the military part of me. I have a big wall of defense when it comes to
Yeah.
that. I don't want anybody thinking that I'm taking their stuff, they're copying
Mhm.
their stuff, and it goes the same way for me too. I think that with transparency, there's a little bit
Yep.
of difference than somebody just actually taking it intentionally.
Yep.
And so I reached out to him and I said, hey man, I apologize. This is my shot. I did not know you did this shot. I said, I will take this down right now. And he was totally cool. He's like, no, I don't want you to take it down. He goes, I did that shot months ago. He goes, yours looks completely different. I can tell you're not trying to copy. And I said, are you sure? And then we had a conversation for like 2 hours
Awesome.
about everything,
Yeah.
etiquette, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so it opened up a door of communication, like you said, just being transparent. But
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of times people understand maybe the unwritten rules about the hobbying and just everything else.
Oh,
I
no,
think
definitely.
No,
There's a whole book. There's a whole book to it.
I guess I got to download it because I don't know.
No, but and you do, because you're doing some of the stuff, and a lot of it, like even when you guys in your show and the hangouts, a lot of those themes, it's talking about just etiquette and how you even go as being a collector or being patient with whatever brand you support or however you think your collection's worth, and a lot of the similar topics that we all talk about is it goes everything from market prices to how you pay somebody, how you communicate in a trade. Like there's so much to it. There we can definitely make a whole rule book to it. And I think a lot of times it's those trials and errors where either you've gotten burned before with a transaction or a trade, which sucks, but then how to go forward. And a lot of these newer collectors, and I was telling Nate the other day, I'm like, that is what kind of trips me out, is that every single day there's going to be someone who's going to buy their first Mezco. And I see it in some of the groups, like I'm in the Facebook group, and it was funny that you messaged me, you're like, hey, is this you? It's stuff like that where there's going to be that one person that, hey, I just got my first Mezco. And to me, I'm like, what? Like I've lost count how many Mezco I have. But that's awesome that he's into the community. And again, like you reached out to me, you're like, hey, I want to make sure this is you and it's not somebody else passing your stuff. When I posted that arcade, I was like, yes, Paige is looking out for me. And that's that etiquette stuff. That's what I love about this community.
It's not the snitch. It's just like you'll see stuff, and I know how hard and how long you've worked at it, and so it's just eyes. And like I said, it's not
man, you're
like,
quick.
Hey, man,
you're quick.
well, dude, I am a big proponent on that.
I appreciate that.
I honestly believe that if someone puts in work or something and they did it, then they deserve the credit for it. And I understand that there's maybe some misunderstandings or something like that might happen between groups of individuals or parties, but like I think that when stuff happens like that, and if it's really blatant, because we've all seen it, you do want to protect those like veteran creators that you have, because you're like, dude, that guy's been working on that.
And that was cool because that collaboration with Grime City, man, we've been in the works for like almost a year, and just like collaborating again, going back and forth ideas. He was shooting me templates. We were both inspired by Vapor, so it was like us at the same time. We're like, we should do this, and we almost hit each other up at the same time. Like, let's collab on an arcade, and I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. Just like what Prime said, one of the things that's always drawn me to you, Paige, is the way that you conduct yourself, and you're always you take a neutral stance a lot of the times. You don't try to go one way or another. You address that there are haters out there, but hey, let's think about this in a logical way. Let's not just hate on the company. Let's think about maybe some of the things that make sense of why you might be experiencing this certain thing or why you might be frustrated with the delay. I think etiquette, and we did an episode on this about online etiquette, and it just kind of goes out the window because people become faceless. Like, hey, I'm dealing with a name, not a person. But you have to remind yourself that these are real people that you're dealing with all the time. Like, no matter if it's in a chat, if you're in a live and you want to, throw up some shitty comment, or if you want to DM somebody, don't DM Paige because your 89 Mezco Batman is delayed. He's got nothing to do with it. He knows a lot about Mezco, but it doesn't mean he is Mezco. And I think people just kind of get this idea that they are entitled for some reason or another, so they're going to act a certain way. But you only get one reputation, and it follows you everywhere. So just you got to remind. I mean, not just you, Paige, but anybody listening, you got to remember that your reputation is, you only get one shot at that, and how you conduct yourself is it stays with you, and people will hear like, oh well, he treated Paige like crap. I don't want to deal with him. Or whatever the case may be, whatever the specific situation. So that's just one thing I've always liked about what you do, Paige, in the Hangouts specifically, is just you take that neutral stance and you try to really approach it from a logical standpoint and not getting the emotions involved, because that can get lost as far as what you're really trying to say.
Yeah, it's to balance the admin thing out.
Yeah.
Because I'm the bad guy with that. And then, you got the other thing. No, but I mean, if I can go back just a little bit with that. So I used to be that person, but in a very small amount. When I first started collecting, I didn't understand, because you don't understand everything.
Right.
You're new to collecting, like you said, Prime. You're a new collector. You're getting your first Mezco, and you're like, dude, what the hell? I can go to Walmart and buy a figure right now. Why is this one taking a year? And so I was that person, and this was around the time when Mezco had Pierre, and then that kind of went away, and then there was nobody really as a communication outlet for them, and people were getting very pissed off. And so what I did was I said, you know what? I have an opportunity to go to Toy Fair. I'm going to try to talk to somebody, and I'll gather all these questions that everybody has, and I'll try to ask them directly, and then I'll go back.
Yeah.
And that was my opportunity to build upon this relationship. And I've been doing it for years. If you go back, you could probably see a couple of posts here and there. But I've been doing this for a long time and building that relationship with them. So year after year, I have a certain amount of trust. And so that affords me to be able to talk to them and probably get information that they wouldn't really give out normally.
Right.
And then it's a good door, because what happens is this is not a flex. So like today, I was talking to Mez today. And and there aren't these like big business meeting conversations. It's just a casual, hey, how you doing, or something like that. But through that discussion, sometimes I have an opportunity to ask them a question about something that I know that's in the community. And then also, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but there's times that I have a conversation with him on the phone, and he asks what the gauge or the temperature of the community is. He'll say, what's going on?
Yeah.
What are they happy with? What are they not happy with?
Yeah.
And so that door, like I said, it swings both ways.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand that they get this information from not only me, but probably from freelancers that work with them, or the community, or the message boards. And in order for them to be able to get discernible information to make important and improvements on their product, they have to be able to look at all that stuff and be able to go through it. So in the group, that's why I try to filter some of that stuff out.
Right.
You can't find a diamond through a bunch of bullshit. You need to look at it and go, there's the diamond. And that's why the logical approach is there.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's wow.
Yeah, it's cool that you have that relationship with Mezco, and it was so awesome that you had Mez on your show. I think that was probably
that's fun.
at least a year or so ago by now. But man, that was just so informative, I think, from a fan standpoint, and just getting to put a face to the name that you hear so much about. And this is the real Mez, you know, and you could tell that you guys kind of had a relationship, and you were asking some great questions. And I think stuff like that is just really great from a fan's perspective. So it's cool that you could provide that.
Yep.
You know, when I see that you're reporting Mezco content, and I see that you have the Mezco updates, and you have your YouTube channel, which you're doing breakdowns and figure reviews, like I'm like, this is the kind of guy they need to hire for their socials. You know, because I feel like, even though I love Mezco and I think they try to communicate, I think sometimes they could have maybe even a bigger social media presence than what they do now, at least being a little bit more interactive with fans, just answering questions or trying to be that voice of reason so that people just don't assume things and then go and post that somewhere else, you know. And we had talked about this before. I'm like, Mezco needs to hire this man because
I wish that'd be cool.
Yeah, I mean, you have the relationship, you take that neutral approach. Like you said, you've been building this relationship for years and years. I know that your YouTube was back in 2018. I don't know if it was before then, but I know you were posting stuff from New York Toy Fair. And
those are some crappy videos.
well, you know, we all start somewhere, though, right? And you can tell you're hanging out at the booth. You're probably talking to some of the guys down there, just getting the info, but that kind of stuff is rare to see, people that have that kind of insider information. So I think that's why you have become such a pivotal resource for Mezco fans, at least in the toy community, because they know that you just have the knowledge. You know, if you want to know something about Mezco, you go to Paige, because that guy knows what he's talking about.
And the tricky thing, like sometimes where I find myself on the fence is like either Mezco doesn't think they're as big as they are because the fandom is there. Like you see there is a lot of hardcore Mezco fanatics. Like they'll buy everything Mezco drops, and so the support I feel from a collector is definitely there. The support is there. Or my other take on it is that they don't want to be like a Hasbro. They want to be exclusive. They want to be limited. But that's really hard when you are providing great figures. Right now, there's so many companies that are providing all sorts of different. It's like a buffet for the collectors. And there's a very large, not I wouldn't even say a small portion, but there's a very large amount of collectors that love and eat up Mezco. Now, for a collector like myself, I've been doing this for collecting for a very long time, where we go through phases, and 1 minute I'm like, I'm out of everything. I'm not going to collect anything. I'm going to start selling everything. My patience is very, very thin with a company that will burn me once or twice. No matter how much I like them, I'll be like, that's it, I'm out. And I start to see that more and more, where more people are like, I'm out the Mezco game. But every day that there's a collector stepping out, there's a brand new one that's stepping back in, and then they fall in love with Mezco. So, you know, it's a big cycle, and I only see that cycle getting larger and larger. So a lot of times I ask myself, does Mezco not see themselves as being a big boy in this toy community? Because they definitely are. And if they were to have like a bigger social media presence, like where they're constantly checking the pulse with the collectors or having more dialogue, it doesn't even matter if everything's delayed, just more dialogue with the community, I think the fandom would only increase. And I don't know, it's just, to me, that's just, I don't know where they are with that. But from a fan standpoint, I'm like, man, you guys are killing it. You guys are doing phenomenal stuff. There's pros and cons to everything, regardless of what company, Hasbro, Mezco, like you put in the company, there's gonna be pros and cons. But overall, the majority of us, we're super, like, I'm happy with all of my Mezco purchases, regardless of the experience with the site and all that stuff. The stuff I can't get, I'm like, I'm super happy. Like, I'm happy as a collector. And it just sucks. The delays, that's out of my control. I can't do nothing about that. So
I think to be honest with you, maybe having a foot in both sides of it. I think they are comfortable with where they're at. I think that they're happy, and I think they put just enough out. He and I joked about this before. It is the Willy Wonka thing.
Yes,
he puts
Willy
just
Wonka.
enough out, and he does. He's a great guy, man. It's hard for me sometimes to look at some of the comments because like I said, there's a step in both areas. And I've had conversations with him, and I'm like, man, this guy is getting the raw end of the deal. People don't understand some of the stuff he's doing.
Yeah.
And but then I also understand the fan part of it too, and that's where the transparency and the communication part will
Right.
probably work. But I think, and this is only my personal opinion,
Yeah.
I think that they embrace that to a certain extent. They know that they have a good product. They know that people are going to buy it, and if there's people that aren't going to support it or aren't going to buy it and want to find another avenue that can fulfill their collecting needs, I think that they're okay with that.
Yep.
Because they do, and I'll be honest with you, those people that you see that leave, they come back in some form or fashion. You've seen it. They'll come back for a release or two, and maybe that's what they need. Maybe they don't need to be fully invested.
Right.
And as far, I appreciate the compliment. Thank you for working with them. I would love to do it, but I don't know if that's something that they would consider. But the thing is I think whoever, if they did choose somebody to do that, they would have to have some very tough skin, very thick skin. I'm very thick skinned, but I can imagine I'm only dealing with a certain number of people within a group, and then I think that there's a little bit of I don't know how to say this, maybe a protective bubble with that, with being an admin, because somebody might, he's gonna kick me out or something. It's like, no, dude, I don't have time for a lot of that stuff. You break the rules, that's when you get booted out. And so, but I think there's a little bit of kid gloves there.
Yeah.
But but it's been a great learning experience for me because I can handle certain things.
Yeah.
And I have very thick skin, and I know the line, and I know a lot of stuff about people to be able to have those kinds of conversations with you, if that makes sense.
That makes sense. And I really love, like, when they do interact, like, it's so funny because you have to really, like, understand, like, the whole history behind Mezco. And when they took over, the Pinscos took over the page, like, I love that. That was so much fun because you're seeing the interaction, right? And so many people were getting upset, and I'm like, you guys are missing the whole point. The fact that something is coming. Instead, you guys are whining and complaining and throwing a fit because the page looks all goofy. Like, what other brand is going to mess with their own site? What other brand is going to have one of their characters say, like, to me, I was sitting back and enjoying the show. That's what you should do. Just enjoy the show and just be ready. Have all your stuff, have your ducks in a row, and be ready for when it drops. Be ready, because the last thing I like to see is all these collectors crying that they missed out, or how dare Mezco. It's like, at the end of the day, Mezco does not have to tailor to your needs. He's doing the show. You either buy a ticket to the show or you don't. And if you've been a Mezco collector long enough, you know that there's like theatrics to it. There's like the Pinscos taking over, or there's like a trivia. And I love that stuff. Like, to me, I love that stuff. That's the type of interaction I love. It's the just going in the shadows and not knowing what's going on with this one product that or all these pre-orders that are just looming over me, and I'm like, I'm eager to get that product. And I get it. There's delays across the board, but that's, to me, that's what sucks, is when they do give us like a show or they do try to interact with us. A lot of Mezco collectors give them a hard time, where they're just like complaining, and I'm like, this is why he doesn't interact with us. It's like Willy Wonka. It's like, this is why he's gonna go back into the chocolate factory, and we get to deal with the Oompa Loompas.
It's funny that you say that, because like we're talking about here, I wish we say things to Paige like, if they're a little bit more social. Here's their attempt at being more social.
Right.
Let's flood the page with PSCC content and really just make a big deal out of it, because what's one of the biggest releases out of Mezco from Remembrance Society? Pinscos Chaos Club. It's one thing that we all want. I missed out on the original release, so this is them doing that. Going real crazy with it, going taking it to their website, and the same people that were like, man, I wish they were more social. Now they're like, oh man, they're going too far. Like, I'm having to refresh the website too much, and I'm wasting my whole day to see if they're going to drop something. And at the end of the day, they drop a release. It's up for at least 2 or 3 hours. I can't remember how long it lasted, but it's up long enough to. Yeah, okay.
That was long enough.
2.5 hours. It doesn't sell out in 15 minutes. It's one of the biggest releases they've had in a long time. The set's freaking amazing. And you got to take it with a grain of salt. At the end of the day, you got the release that you wanted. I think they handled it well enough to where they gave everybody ample opportunity. This is kind of their warning for me, it was like warning, something big is coming.
Right.
Stay locked on our page, otherwise you're going to miss it. So it's like you can't please everyone. You can't have your cake and eat it too. But I think that's maybe their attempt at doing that. What do you think, Paige? You think that's kind of their way of trying to get more social or trying to get more engaged, or
I think and this is an unbiased opinion, I really think they try to accommodate the customer base, because that's important. You have to have customers generate revenue and have everything go. And I like personally what they're doing. I know sometimes it doesn't work the way some people might think, but like the Nosferatu, you know how that went up at 12 o'clock. For me personally, those are creating moments and events. I mean, you can have something from another company and they just drop a pre-order. You possibly know when it's coming, but it's just that there's no event to it. There's no style to it. You know, it's a standard pre-order. With this, you have a moment and you could say, "Oh, I remember I waited 1 o'clock in the morning because it's supposed to drop at 12, and I did this." And then, like you said, also with the pink skulls, I mean, people have been building anticipation for this set release. And so with that, you have to have some kind of like showmanship with it. And so why would you just go, "Hey guys, it's on the website"? Why not build up to it? And so, you know, people were sitting there saying that, oh, they've kind of played this out. They've done it over 2 or 3 days, but then you'll have different individuals saying, "I didn't get any warning. I didn't know it was up. There's not enough time." So you're doing this in a showmanship kind of way where you're trying to appease the masses, but you're not trying to do it obvious. And and then there's still a problem.
Those people, I'm like, you can leave the horse to the water, but you can't make them drink it.
Yeah, like, I feel that way with certain things. Like the one thing with me, and I don't know how it's perceived in the groups or how it's even perceived in videos, but the thing with me is that I really try to take that neutral stance. I'm glad that you see it, but I really try to rip out the bias part of it and just say, here's the information. Somebody will say, "I don't understand the license versus the IP stuff." Okay, well, here's all the information. This is the reason why they do something. And then people will come up with their own assessment of it, but it's almost like you can give them everything. Like I had a 2 or 3 day post about people was like, "I don't understand why this stuff is not getting shipped." And I'm like, okay, well, there's an energy restriction over on the factories. There's also the Shanghai factories. They were closed for a month. The people that were there were minimally manned. And then you got to worry about medical stuff, food stuff. You got all these families. And then you got them trying to push it over to the cargo onto the ships to get over. There's a backup, of like whatever 60,000 plus whatever ships and cargo crates out there waiting, right? But you can explain all of this stuff and to go off on a little tangent. This whole thing that I've been doing with the Hangout is trying to go through a whole process so people have a better understanding of the whole thing in complete. Like I did a episode with CTG, the collector. He was, at the time, he worked with FedEx. Because we're always talking about, why does FedEx leave my package over there? Why do they just... So that was to give you
that was awesome.
kind of... but it's to kind of give people an idea. So you get the viewpoint of somebody from there. And then with Mez, now you get the company owner. And then you get artists. Like I had Darius on, and that's from a creator standpoint. You're trying to get an understanding of all these different facets. I talked to Mario. He's one of the guys who organizes the transfer of the crates from off the yard to trucks to have them go to their distribution or the factory or the places they're supposed to go. So you're understanding this whole process instead of complaining about it. But you can give people all that information and somebody will just say, "I don't understand. Where's my toy?"
It's like that. And not to simplify it, but it always reminds me of that scene in Clerks where the guy buys the coffee hot and he's like, what am I supposed to do? Drink this hot? And it's like, it's hot coffee. Like, come on.
Or the woman suing because the coffee was too hot.
It's
what do you expect? It's like the people that say, "I'm going to sue Mezco because I didn't get it, my pre-order." I just think that's so silly.
And you always hear all these great stories because it's like, oh, where's my items, where's my figures, and then the figures hit, oh, everything's hitting, I can't, like, Mezco's hitting my wall, like,
and
and
a lot of that is,
come on.
Like, have you tried to email Mezco? A lot of the times they won't even say that they have. You know, they're just taking it to like some public forum and they're screaming at Paige in his live or something like, "Hey, they delayed my pre-order." You know, but have you actually tried to email Mezco? Because I guarantee if you try to explain the situation, you say, "Hey, this figure's been delayed 2 years. I can't afford it anymore. Can you refund me the NRD?" I'm not saying they're going to do that all the time, but think in one-off cases, they'll probably be willing to cancel it and give you your NRD back. Like, I don't see them.
Let's say the figure does come through. Like right now, the Wolverine's about to hit in Ghost Rider. Now people are complaining, oh, they're going to hit us with these 2 really expensive figures. Hey, you signed up for it.
Yeah, would you rather be delayed again?
Like, I don't get it. You were mad because it's delayed. Now it's being delivered, and now you're still mad. So
you're pissed when it's delayed, and now you're pissed that you have to pay for it. Yeah,
I catch heat sometimes because, like, and I've done this the whole time. That, you know, like I said, there's certain things that they'll tell me that I can say, and then there's certain things that they say, nope, that's off topic. We can't talk. But there's times when they say, yeah, you could do that, but just kind of tease it.
Yeah.
And so in videos and in even in thumbnails, I've been telling people for the last 2 or 3 weeks, be careful what you wish for. Be prepared. And it's all leading up to, like, you know, like with the Pink Skulls, that's a huge set. Now you have Wolverine, that's 155. And it's always, it's funny to hear people say that they want the figures and that they're not putting out enough product. But then when the devil comes due, they're like, oh, I can't do it. It's like, and people who complain about the release dates, I mentioned that tonight on the Hangout tonight. I was like, you could be better prepared for this stuff. A lot of people think you're trying to scold them or you're trying to be like some kind of like dad or teacher. It's like, no, I'm trying to give you some advice to help make this this whole collecting thing easier, because that's all we all want. We just want to have a good experience. And so I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm just trying to give you some advice. Save $10. You know, for the 2 years that this Batman thing has been going on, you've already paid probably for it twice. You know, just putting $10 aside. And so, like, when these drops start coming, that way you're prepared for it. Because now, I don't know if you saw in the groups, it affects other things too. Like, you have these third-party collectors, I mean, these the group sellers, and they have people backing out of their pre-orders that they had.
That sucks.
That's really unfortunate for a small business.
It is. And so, and they do the groups a good service. I know they've had to kind of get put in a position where they have to charge an NRD, you know, a smaller amount, but still they're offering, I don't know if some of them are doing it, but like still, but free shipping. You're getting the stuff. I mean, and it's an alternative to getting some of these figures that are already sold out or waitlisted that you might not even have an opportunity to get. So you got to take care of some of those guys. And I saw that post today and I was like, oh man, it really stinks. But people need to kind of be more conscientious of what you're collecting, not getting wrapped up in overspending, but then also being prepared for this stuff.
Yeah, I think it goes back to remembering that there are people behind these accounts. Like, you know, one that always comes to my mind is One Stop Toy Shop. You know, I'm in his Discord. That guy's, you know, people like him are putting up their own money to buy these large orders of Mezcos because you're committing to buying it from them. So when you back out on that deal, now you're sticking with him with extra figures that he wasn't planning on keeping. So he's either going to have to offload it at a cheaper price or hold on to it and lose some money. I mean, it's like a snowball effect. So you not committing to that pre-order, I can see why companies want to start switching to an NRD method, because now they're stuck with all this extra stock. So if you're out there and you're thinking about canceling that pre-order for somebody, first of all, you know, if you were going to cancel it, you probably shouldn't have pre-ordered in the first place. And second of all, you're going to put that guy in a harder situation. Yeah, big companies like BBTS, maybe you don't think of it that way, but they've also started charging NRDs. So I just don't think people play it through. Like, if that was you, just think about like on an eBay sell. You sell something on eBay, then somebody backs out of it. You got to do the whole process over. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of money. I just don't think people take those extra steps when they're thinking about it. They're just thinking about themselves. You know, and we could pick Paige's brain all night about, you know, this and that, plays, license versus IP.
And we haven't even gotten to like packaging. Like, I had like 3 of these under the tree, and my wife thought I bought her expensive gifts, and I was like, no, those are all my Mezco.
She's like, are those my red bottoms you promised me?
She's like, oh, are those my Louis Vuittons? And I was like, that's actually Gomez in there.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, that boat came out really nice. Good job.
Bait and switch. Like, no, that's not for you, honey. I'm sorry.
I had that and the Eddie like box underneath the tree.
Yeah, I really hope that they maybe do that every year. Maybe something Christmassy.
Yeah, I like that. That was cool.
Yeah,
it got me in trouble after, but I liked it.
Yeah, it's worth it. It's worth it.
Yeah, it was.
What's she gonna do? Make you get on the couch so you can play with it on the couch?
No, she was like, "You're gonna have to sell them," and I was like, "Ah."
What? No. My
doubles.
My girlfriend asked me that one time before. Like I finally was able to save up enough money to buy a black and white Dark Knight. This was years ago.
Yeah.
And I had it. And then I showed her, I was like, look, I finally got it. She's like, oh, how much is that worth? And I showed her eBay listing. She was like, when are you going to sell that? I'm like, no, it's not.
No.
No. Yeah.
It's good to know. That's one thing I do love about Mezco's is most of the time, not always, but they hold their value very well. It's a good investment usually. I'm either going to get what I paid or more.
At least. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, we could pick your brain all day, but not only do you do the Hangout, you also have a YouTube where you put a lot of information out there. So if you guys haven't followed the Toy Paige on YouTube, please go subscribe to him because he's got some really great content. He does, you do the Grub Report where you kind of do like a breakdown of drops, sort of your experiences, prices, where can you get it, fun facts like the Dr. Doom Mezco collab with 4 Horsemen, like that stuff that people might not know about, which you can get in the Grub Report that Paige produces. You do the breakdown, which is basically your way of doing kind of like a figure review, right? Where you're kind of breaking down the figure, what it comes with. It's very thorough, very detailed. You're showing the box. You're kind of showing how everything's in the box. And then you do your Hangouts, which you're putting on there as well. But you're putting out like a lot of content. So was that just out of passion, or is it just like, hey, this is a place that I want to have this central resource for Mezco information in case I'm asked these questions? I mean, how did that kind of start for you?
Initially, like I said, it was to kind of bridge that gap. You know, there was information I was getting and I was putting it in the group, but people don't read. And so I was like, well, maybe a video. Well, you know how it is.
No
and you've seen my posts.
Yeah.
Those posts are created not to kill you with words, but it's more of like reducing the amount of comments that might come after it.
Yep.
You know, like
I
don't
appreciate
understand.
your posts. I'm always going on there and I'm like, yes, okay, cool.
Yeah. But even I recognize, like I said, people, it's a different day and age.
Yeah.
And people will want more of a different format to be able to understand it or digest it. And so I was like, I have to start doing videos. But the thing is I'm way too, I guess, involved and meticulous, and so some of these videos, they take longer than others, but there is a lot that's put into it, and the reason why I do is because I want to make sure that people have all the information. Like you said with the breakdown, like it's no disrespect to reviewers and influencers. I was brought up on influencers and reviewers. I enjoy their content still. But a lot of times I got into this thing where I was watching and I would watch a reviewer and there was 10 things negatively said about the product. And there was 2 things. And then somebody would say, I like this figure, and I can't discern from that. I go by, it's a weight thing. Yeah. And if I just hear you talking negative about it. And so I said, well, what's a way that I can talk about something and then just have the person watching it make their own assessment about it? That was the whole format and premise of that. And that's like, I'll just show you everything. Yeah. It's not innovative. People have done it. And to be honest with you, the idea I got was when I watched one of these, I don't know if it was a Gundam video or something, but the guy never said anything. He just showed the figure. And I was like, I like to talk too much, so I can't do that. But I'll just talk over showing the figure. And I just, and I'm in a position where sometimes they'll, like tonight I posted about the LP, the Pink Skull thing. Like he had mentioned that you're not going to get locked into the record if you don't have a record player. They'll probably give you a code that you're going to be able to listen to it digitally.
Oh, that's sweet.
And so, yeah, and that's not on the side or anything. So that's stuff that I was like, I want to be able to tell people that stuff. So every once in a while when a release comes, like I've had an opportunity to be able to get advanced stuff. And so all that time is put into trying to just showcase whatever the figure is. And like I said, allowing whoever's watching it make their own assessment if they think if it fits within their collecting habits.
Yeah. I love the way you do it. It's very calming. It's one of those things that I kind of put on while I'm working and watch it because it kind of calms me down. Like you have this silky smooth delivery and how you're talking and kind of what you're talking about and your transitions and how you're showing off the figure. And you really provide a unique perspective. So I appreciate the work that you put into it. I know we're kind of our own worst critics sometimes. Like, is it too long? Am I talking too much? But I think it's you, and that's what people are going there for. Like, I want Paige's perspective. I want Paige's information. I like the way that he, focuses on certain things. So I think just keep doing what you're doing, man, because I think you're doing something right. You're drawing a lot of people, not only to you, but to like for the hangouts and all of that. And that kind of transitions to what you do with Mezco on your page. I know you're doing the Mez Weekly for a while, and then you started the hangouts. Was that kind of the progression of the Mez Weekly? Or are you still going to revisit that at some point?
So the weeklies, though, a lot of times that was just, I've gotten better with video editing, and this is all, a lot of this stuff is all self-taught. I need to get with you after this or tomorrow because I've been stuck on IG Live, and I need to get on, I need to get StreamYard so I can get on YouTube so I can maybe have a better avenue. Most people don't want to watch IG, but like when I first started, it was very basic. It was doing Instagram and then YouTube videos with just a weekly, and then it didn't seem like that was really I was telling people stuff that they already knew. And most people, maybe they have a job and they were coming in, but most collectors, hardcore collectors, are like, dude, I already know this stuff. And so I was like, I have to become faster and then also cover stuff real time. And so the Grub Report was just something to be able to put content out, but then also be able to share my thoughts about what I saw, and then sprinkle some of that other information in there. And then so the weekly, to be honest with you, that kind of got pushed out because sometimes there wasn't content or anything. Yeah. But I think the Grub Report stuff is it fits me a little bit more. I'm still going through all this process, and just like you guys are. It's
coming up with content every week is a challenge. Trust us, you're preaching to the choir.
Yeah. Try to think about things to talk about and make it interesting. Can be tough.
And relevant.
Right, and relevant. Exactly.
I idea wise, I'd never have a problem, like, because there's a lot in there, but it's just it's trying to put out what you have in there and make sure it's quality. But like you said, I'm not trying to broadcast to the world. I'm only concerned with the people that are watching the content, because I can't. There's nothing I'm going to be able to say to other people that's going to resonate and say, okay, these are the reasons X, Y, and Z why this is happening, and they're not going to take it from me, even consider it.
But
so I'm not.
I'll go against that, and I'll say every collector needs to hear that, though. Like that's what I love about, like, not only from everything from the name of your shows, the Grub Report, the breakdown, the hangout. It reminds me of my childhood. I'm like, man, those are some of the shows that I don't know, I must have watched or I should have watched. But then the way you break it down, it's always neutral. And it's just like, hey, I'm presenting you guys with all the information I was able to collect. You guys decide. And then let's have a conversation about it. It's never like, this is good, this is bad, or avoid this. That's what I love. Like, I always would catch you and Jason on and just play you guys in the background while I'm working in the workshop or at work. And I'm just listening to you guys in my headphones. And I'm like, just listening to two collectors just talking about what they love. And there was no, like, everything was happy-go-lucky and everything. It was just very neutral. And then ultimately I was like, oh yeah, I agree with Jason, or, I agree with Paige, or I'd be like, I don't agree with Paige, but I get what he's saying. Yeah. That's like, I think from a collector's standpoint, like, eventually we all need to make that phase where you want to look for the information and then make the decision yourself. And then hopefully it's that decision that you want and not really following the hype or giving into because of FOMO. That's, I mean, that every time I check you out, when you're on IG Live, I'm like, oh, let's see what Paige has to say, because your opinion does matter. It's like not necessarily gonna make me buy a figure or not, but I'm like, let me listen to Paige's take on what's going on, because he obviously knows something that I don't. So I'm interested in it and I want to listen. That's why I think every collector should tune in and subscribe and check out, because there's going to be information that you need to know to make to kind of put your own perspective and your bias in check. That's why everyone should listen.
Yeah, and I appreciate you guys plugging that and recognizing that, and I understand what you're saying, and one of the things with it that we try to like, or been trying to do with like the neutral part is even because I know I'm very, it might surface wise seem like I'm very pro Mezco, and so I've really tried to make
No.
I know, right? So I've really tried to make a conscious effort, even in groups and stuff like that, to kind of jump to the other side every once in a while, so there's balance. Because I don't, not to sound like cliche, I think it makes you sound unrelatable if you're just like, you don't like it, don't pay for it. They're doing what they have, and this is the reason why you need to accept it. That's not what I'm trying to say. Like I said, it's always trying to be down the middle. But also jump on the other side, like even tonight we're talking about communication. Being more transparent and probably having more communication or interaction with the fan, that would probably help some of the things, or even kind of like ease the minds of some collectors with certain aspects. So I just think that there's a way that you can approach the topics from both sides and then have a productive conversation where somebody could pick out information. Like somebody might be able to watch this or something else and go, you know what? Like you said, I don't agree with him, but I can kind of see what he's saying. Maybe this is a process improvement that we can look into to try to figure out how to make it better. As opposed to, you guys suck, I hate this line, I'm quitting this line. You're not getting anything out of that. You're not getting anything to help the improvement of the product.
I enjoy the hangouts. I'm ready to type stuff, and then I hear your thoughts, and I'm like, never mind, forget it. He's right. I'll agree to disagree.
I always feel like I'm so active in those, like I'm just typing away, like comment.
I saw that tonight. I hope people would. I don't, like I said, I don't want hate, but I want to have conversations with people. So
engagement.
And if people have something like, hey, if somebody said, you know what, no, Trevor the other night, he made some great points. And it wasn't to start an argument. It's just to open dialogue up and say, well, this is the reason why I feel this way. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. And one of the things I think we talked about, I'll try and make it really quick. So one of the things we tried to talk about was the "Are we there yet?" syndrome. Because everybody's talking about, of course, the figure that shall not be named. And when is it coming out? And I said, they said that communication would probably be key, which we probably would. And I said, but what if you're doing that over 2 years? So you're saying, because month 1 through 6, they say, hey, we have a problem. It's not going to be on time. Okay. 8 months, you say it again. 12 months, you say it again. 14, 16. Now you're getting into this. And then people will say, well, that's all we want. We want communication. And I go, no, that's not what you want. You want the product. So you need to move that other part out and look at what the end problem is. And the problem is there's something that's preventing them from putting the figure out. And so that's the part of it. It's not communication. Communication with that figure. I'll make that clear. With that figure. But so it's like, it's like kids in a car. You're going, are we there yet? Are we there yet? No. And you saying, are we there yet? I understand what you're saying. You want to get there.
I'm gonna
saying, are you there? Oh yeah. Are we there yet? Is not going to make the car go faster. It's not going to get us there. So there's certain things that you just kind of have to kind of understand.
I think that's really hard for a lot of people to see both sides of the aisle like that. It sounds logical to me, and it's something that I try to do as well. But there's a lot of people out there that only see one side, and they only want to hear one side of the argument, either to reinforce what they think, or to pour more fuel on the fire that Mezco's stealing our money and all this stuff. But just I think that's one thing that I always appreciated about your hangouts, and even when you do grub reports and all that stuff, you're trying to see both sides of the aisle. Like, okay, there's a reason for the delays. Mezco at the end of the day is a business. They want to be profitable. They want to be successful. they're going to give us our figures. It's not like they're just not going to give us our figures and just sit on like, haha, I got your money. I'm not going to give you a figure now. Like their whole plan is to get figures out as fast as possible. I'm sure they're trying to do that, but it's not an apples. You know, I hear people say, well, NECA's pumping out figures or Hasbro is pumping out figures. It's not apples to apples comparisons. They all have different ways that they produce figures, and Mezco relies a lot on, you know, this other producer. I don't know. I'm not going to try to assume that I know what's going on. But
no, because I think Paige just called us toddlers in booster seats. So I'm just gonna sit.
No,
enjoy my dream. No, I'm just playing, Paige. I'm gonna enjoy my dream. Because man, that analogy blew my brain. I was like, "Are we there?" I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I am that kid in the back seat. I'm not we're there yet. I just want to get to the amusement park, Dad. Drive faster. Come on, get around this RV. Let's go.
But you know what's funny about it is man, like, and I mentioned this on Hangouts before. What I don't completely understand about it is that there'll be all this uproar about a figure. You know, you can name figures before. You know, gosh, what was that one? Anyway.
Yeah.
So people, MDX Blade, everybody, there was only 2 of those figures ever supposedly made, and everybody wanted that figure, and they waited, probably almost a year, and then they offered it. Everybody's like, oh, yes, we can finally get it. And that figure lasted 2 weeks, you know, as far as activity in the groups and stuff like that. And I can't tell you the last time I've seen an MDX Blade picture.
No. Yeah.
But everybody wanted that figure. And everybody's so focused on that. And so it's just like you said, it's I want, and it's like nobody is patient.
It's like those Hydra figures in that from one of those Comic Cons. Everybody wanted those Hydra figures and they were all customs. And I'm like, collectors were like, where are the Hydra figures? We'll see.
And do you really want to have them? We saw that with Black Skulls.
Do you really want to army build
that stuff?
Yeah, like no, you don't.
Yeah,
I'm
careful
when they do a Cobra Trooper.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
that's $75, at least $75 a pop. You're looking at. Do you really want to army build that or not? You know, it's like.
But then, you get good deals, like the Golden Ninjas. If you had the decoder ring, right? Was it whatever, you know? And you bought 3 get 1. Like those. Like we don't remember about those type of deals where I was like, you buy 3, you get the 4th one for free.
Yeah, you get Black Skulls. They give it. You know, that was a free thing, and so
I got 4 for that very reason. Because I'm like, might as well.
Here.
I mean, you're getting $75 for free here.
Time to sell them and send my kids to college.
Yeah, exactly right. That's what they
that's
treat
your retirement fund.
Yeah.
Gosh, yeah.
So I have to ask, do you have a complete collection, Paige, of Mezco?
Yes.
I figured you did.
Wow, nice.
And you're taking even a step further, right? I've seen that you've done this probably at least, you know, through my research of you. I've seen you do it at least 3 times, where now you're getting them autographed. And
okay. I thought you were something else.
Your most recent one is The Dark Knight Returns. You got it autographed by Frank Miller. What a cool idea. It's not even something I would think to myself like, oh, let me get my Mezco signed by Frank Miller, who was the inspiration for this figure. But man, that's cool. And then you had Sulu, right? George Takei.
Yes.
And then William Shatner for Captain Kirk.
And I heard those Star Trek figures were freaking awesome.
They're great. The head sculpts are really great. And so I was looking at one day, something happened, and I heard that a friend actually started me on that kick. Nick Castle, the guy who played Michael Myers, he was there at some place in Jersey, and my friend said, "Hey man, do you want me to get this signed?" I said, "Yeah, that would be so cool." And so he signed it, took a picture of it and everything, sent me the slip cover. I sent him mine, and I was looking at it, I'm like, this would be really cool to try to do this for any time I have an opportunity to do it. And so I had Frank Miller, I had William Shatner, George Takei. I had Sarah Frazetta. She signed 2 of my Conans for me. And cheap plug, she'll be on next week on the Hangout.
Awesome.
So,
oh, nice.
And so, but that's what's cool about this stuff. I was like, you know, what can I do to kind of personalize this and make it more unique? And that was just something like for me. selling, knock on wood, selling my collection is not in the cards. And so even if I did, it's their signature. It's not like they said, "Hey, Paige, love you so much."
Right.
It's there's a signature on it, so it kind of like adds to it for me as far as like personal value, not monetary value.
And you only collect Mezco, right?
No.
Or do you collect other stuff?
Oh yeah, I collect a lot of stuff, man.
All
I got a
stuff.
pin of Legends with Star Wars Black Series, Mezco, Reveltech. I'm not as active in those other communities as I am with Mezco. Mezco eats up a lot of time.
Yeah, it's a lot to cipher through there.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was really cool. It's another way to kind of level up your collection. Like, hey, now that I have everything, let me try to get some of these autographed by some famous people that inspired the figure. I think that makes a lot of sense to me. So that's cool. Well, I mean, like I said, for anybody listening, if you've been hiding under a rock, you don't know who the Toy Paige is, please go follow him on his Instagram and his Twitter. Attend his hangouts. Make sure you hit the notification bell because you won't be disappointed. A lot of great info, and join in on the chat.
Yep.
Obviously, be respectful, please. Have a if you have something to say, make sure it's value added, not just a hater comment. But it's a great place to interact. It's a great place to talk about Mezco. For anybody that is a Mezco fan, you need to go check him out because I really enjoy it. But we're not done with you yet, Paige. We're going to go into what we call the Dirty Dozen, which I think you've said you've seen a couple of the interviews, so you kind of know how this goes. But we're going to do a rapid fire round of 12 different topics. Just tell us the first thing that comes to your mind, or kind of what you think about it.
I hope this doesn't get me in trouble.
Before
you start, I did have this question.
Okay.
So I've watched a couple of episodes, and what's the beef thing? What is the beef?
Spreading rumors and starting beef.
Oh, so did I chime in the right time?
Yeah, spreading rumors and starting beef.
Right. Yeah. So me and Prime are known for spreading rumors, which ultimately starts beef. Prime, for some reason, always has beef with someone.
Apparently.
Legitimate beef, or is it just kind of like perceived beef?
No. It's perceived beef. It's always compliments. It's like,
well, some of it might be legitimate, especially on Prime side. But I've said things
like if you mention the people I have beef with, it's like Mario, Cheney, Adam, playing with myself, Studios. Cheney 180, Mario 796 Studios. Like those guys. That's who I have beef with because I freaking love those guys. Customs by Machu, I have beef with him because he's an amazing customizer. 78 points of articulation because he's an awesome dial maker. I have beef with them. They're so good.
I love his work.
And it's so funny because Cheney 180, he's like, "Oh, Prime has beef with me. I think he wants to go barbecue." I'm like, "Sure, let's go have a barbecue and share some beers."
Yeah, and then I tend to say incorrect things every once in a while. So that's where the spreading rumors come
always
from.
thinks that Batman's part of the X-Men group, so.
Or I said something last week. I was talking about pink skulls, and I said it came with 27
pricing, and the pricing stuff too. I was like, this dude, it was like the math. I was like, he's blowing my mind with this math. I'm like,
came with like 36 head sculpts.
Oh goodness! Yeah. So we're poking fun at ourselves, really, with that.
No, it was good though. I was like, what's Nate doing?
Yeah,
he's like putting a whole bunch of stuff in there. I was like,
you go
I'm with it.
You start going live and your brain just kind of goes out the window. You're like, what was I talking about? What am I adding up here? Because I forgot.
Yeah, so if you end up having beef with us or with me, then you're in the circle of trust. Like you've made it. That's a good sign.
You've made it.
That's the kind of beef that I can deal with. The other kind of stuff I don't pay attention to.
So who knows? At the end of this, we might have some beef. We might have some beef, Paige. So
I probably do. I will tell you, there is a group that I've heard of all the people that got removed from our group, and they created their own little group of where they can. But it's good. I mean, if you want to like speak negatively about stuff, and that's the kind of stuff that's the pot that you want to sit in and be negative. Hey man, have at it, man. Create your own group.
Yeah, that sounds awful to me, but yeah, sure. More power.
Well, it's funny because somebody sent me a screenshot. One of the things that one of the people brought to my attention was the rules were a little bit too strict in the group that we have, and so ironically, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks later, a guy was in the group. He sent me a list of the rules for their group, and it was stuff that was already in our group. And I was like, "Hey, have fun with this." I'm like, you'll see what it's like. to run a group and and have to deal with all that stuff.
Yeah, there's rules for a reason. We're just trying to keep this place healthy, safe place to talk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dirty Dozen, I'm sorry.
No, it's
ready.
Good tangent.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get to it. Very first one. Mythic
Phone
Legions.
a friend. Just kidding. Mythic Legions.
Yeah.
You have any interest?
Initial?
Yep.
I like them a lot. The Doctor Doom thing has got me very curious on how that collaboration went.
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually had a quick conversation with Cornboy.
Oh, right? Nice. Yeah.
It was just kind of very, for me, I'm really anal. And so I'm like, hey, is this information correct?
Yeah.
Because I don't like just putting stuff out there. And so I talked to him, had a nice little conversation. I enjoy the line. I have a couple of the ice trolls and ogres and a couple of the orcs and stuff like that. I'm probably butchering that. Some Mythic Legion guy will get on me about that. But I bought it for Conan. I like the line.
Nice. Awesome. Next one. Star Wars Black Series.
Black hole of money.
Yes. I stay away from it.
Money pit.
I can't do it.
I keep thinking, well, I mean, I keep thinking every time I'm not going to get anything else, like they do something else. And I keep looking at it and I'm like, oh, I'm getting all these droids. I'm getting this person. I'm getting that person. And I like it because I've seen the progression. But I'm sitting there thinking it's like a black hole for money. It just keeps sucking money out. But I like the line.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, it's one of those lines. I love Star Wars, but to your point, if I started it, I wouldn't be able to stop. I'd want to continue going, so I've just stayed away from it just to protect my wallet.
Yeah. I had what was it, the Bad Batch? I didn't even know if I had them all. I was looking and I go, this one came out. Do I have that one? And it's just so much choice. We talked about that tonight. It is. There's just so much. Every day there's a new pre-order. So, but I do like them. It's just black hole of money.
All right. Next one is Marvel Legends.
Another black hole of money. Cherry pick.
Okay.
I've kind of learned to just get some of the figures that are kind of like fillers for maybe some of my Mezco figures, or just not get. I used to think about this when people would talk about, say, oh, I don't like movie figures. Now I kind of understand why.
Yeah.
Because you're taking pictures and you're stuck to one thing. But Marvel Legends, I've just learned to cherry pick. It's just there's just so much coming out from them, and it's nice, but it's overwhelming sometimes for me. But it's a good line. I enjoy it. I always have. They've come a long way.
Nice.
They really have. Yeah. Night and day difference from where they started.
Yeah. My first Marvel Legends figure was Misty Knight. And
Misty Knight?
Yeah. I came in late.
Do you want to change your answer?
Well,
I think my Target still has some Misty Knights on the face.
Oh God, man! I had that guy that Mikey DePez. Do you know him, the customizer? He does.
Oh yes, yeah.
I sent him my Misty Knight head so he could repaint it, and I love it. I love it. Beautiful work. Yeah. But yeah, that's my Marvel Legends thing.
Nice.
Nice.
Next one, like Jurassic Park.
As far as like figure line or movies,
haven't
seen the movie.
Yeah, the Mattel, the Amber collection.
I
or
don't
any
even
dinosaurs?
collect it.
No,
I don't even have the big T-Rex everybody gets for Conan. I don't even have that. I know. There's just so much stuff, man.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah, I stay out of it myself, so you're not alone there.
Yeah,
I even got the Raptors that were like $8 at Target at one point.
I know. So Prime, you need to start shooting me some of these deals. Like
Jason sent me a picture of that Raptor and Mario that he took.
Oh, the Mario shot.
Kid.
Oh yeah,
my son loves it.
So good.
Yeah, I really try not to jump into too many lines. Like like this. I see it. I have I like it, but I'm like I can't get into it.
Okay. Next one, Mezco.
Delays, suing.
Too much Rumble society.
Too much Gomez.
That Paige guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that
Paige is
admin
what I
page
think of
guy,
when
the crap, all that guy. Uh, very good company
Nice.
that tries to improve upon their product and sometimes gets a bad rap. I think all companies get a bad rap, really.
Yeah, right. I think they've taken up some of our money that people just feel like, okay, well now I can hate on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you're volunteering to do that though. You're
Nobody's
volunteering
putting a
to
gun to
do
your head.
it. Right, exactly.
Some dude said the other day and not the other day, a couple months ago, he's like, I'm tired of this group. This is just a cult. I'm like, hey man, I can tell you one thing. I was like, and one thing about a cult is they don't let you leave. I'm like, you can leave here.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
This
know,
is
Door's
not
right
a
over
cult.
there. We'll see you
Yeah.
later. Have a good night.
So, good company, primary company,
nice.
bad rap.
Basically, Paige's bread and butter.
Yeah, that's all I eat because
Yeah.
just kidding.
Next one, G.I. Joe Classified.
Another black hole.
Oh,
Childhood
Yeah.
nostalgia.
there you go.
Mhm.
Very good line. Enjoy playing with it. I really like that line a lot.
Awesome.
You getting that his tank?
Yes, sir. I got 3.
Oh, nice. Dang.
Yeah,
It's going to be an army. Well, you do have some Mezcos coming that are G.I. Joe,
That's-
so that'll be
yeah.
a good matchup too.
yeah. And then when you're putting all these damn troopers and stuff, I
Mhm.
forgot that I got that many Cobra officers. To be honest with you, I got something from you know how the pre-orders go up and you're
Yep.
like, I'll get it here, I'll get
Yeah.
it here, I'll get it
Yep.
here.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, Big Bad Toy Store sends
Yep.
me. It says, "Hey, you're getting your officer." I'm like, "Cool." And then Pulse goes, "You're getting your officers." I'm like, "Whoa, wait a minute."
Yep.
And
Hold
then
on
there
a
was
second.
another. Yeah, there was another. Oh, Amazon. Amazon said, "You're getting your." I'm like, "Oh my God, Paige, what are you doing?" Black hole.
Yep. Definitely.
His tanks. Love
For
it.
sure.
All right. Next one is 1/18 scale.
No experience at all.
Okay. You're a newbie
Sorry.
to the 1/18. We got Acid
Except for maybe
Rain,
5
Joy
points.
Toy. Oh, 5 points.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yep. Well, you got me on that one scaling wise. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love 5 points.
Oh, okay.
I do. I have because it's Mezco, of course, but I really enjoy that line. I still need to open the Godzilla stuff, but yeah,
I didn't
Got
realize
me.
the Godzilla.
you got me.
We got him, Nate. We got him.
Got him.
Mission
Yes.
accomplished.
All right.
man.
Let's end the show. Bye, guys.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
No, there's more. There's
That's it.
more. Stick around.
Oh, okay.
Next one is Super 7.
I've heard great communication
Yeah.
and the blueprint for customer service.
Yeah.
You have,
That's all I hear about it. I don't
you,
have any
you don't.
experience with
You
it.
haven't had any experience with handling the Super 7 figure?
No, I have not.
Okay.
I'll be honest. Would
Definitely
they
a
do
black hole.
Silverhawks, right?
Yeah.
Silverhawks
Yeah.
and He-Man, right? And Turtles?
Okay. Yep. Turtles, Simpsons, Thundercats, Silverhawks.
Oh, they did the tank too, right?
Yeah, they did Thunder Tank.
Yeah. That's all.
And
That's all I
and
really know
the
about it.
TMNT wagon, party wagon.
Yeah. they got
Oh
that
yeah, I
coming
heard that thing is expensive. I saw that.
Yeah, that
it was
one's,
like $500.
Yeah.
$500. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
probably the biggest and most detailed, but yeah, it's definitely it's a big investment for sure.
Are these you guys' personal favorites? Like Nate, are you doing Super 7? Or, I know I've seen you do shots.
Yeah, I mean, I have some. I think these are all lines that we've sort of dabbled in. Like the 118 stuff's really a lot of Prime's
Mhm.
focus. Super
Mhm.
7 is, I get them every now and then, but
Yeah.
Prime gets a lot of them too. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
these are
lately
kind of
I have.
just different lines that we have both invested in. So we like to
Mhm.
hear what other people think about it.
Yeah.
Next
What's
one
your
is Mafex or Mayfix.
What I think or what kind of experience
Yep.
I have with them?
Yeah. What do you think of them? Have you had any Mayfix?
I have Catwoman
Okay.
because
That's a
I
good one.
wanted a better Catwoman.
Yeah.
Oh, you said something bad about Mezco. So I wanted a more articulated Catwoman,
Yeah.
and I thought that would
That
be
was-
my only option.
Oh, yeah.
So there was something else I bought from them too. A couple other things. Oh, I bought the Spider Gwen. I wasn't too much of a fan with that.
No.
I've had very limited mental things that I've had. I
Oh,
haven't
so
had-
you've gotten lucky because you don't want to pick up their Superman or the Batman Hush or the Venom. or the Spider-Man, or the Peter B. Parker, or Cyclops, or Wolverine. Ugh.
They're the comparison. Well, they're the comparison. Like all I see mainly in the Mezco groups is like Mafex. I'm saying it right?
Yeah.
Mafex is killing it, and they're doing more comic stuff, and they're doing it better than Mezco. And I'm like, man, sounds like you're happy, man. Just roll with that.
I wouldn't. I mean, like the fact when people say, "Oh, it's better than Mezco," it's apples to oranges. Like when people compare Marvel Legends to Mezco, that doesn't do any sense. Mafex to Mezco doesn't make any sense either, because Mafex is in a whole different lane. Like I collect Mafex and Mezco, and I never think like, oh, one versus the other. It's in a whole separate lane.
Yeah,
I just think it's weird. I just think it's weird when people just go in groups and do it. It's it's like you going to Burger King and saying, you know what, I like McDonald's better. It's like nobody cares there. Yeah, you're going in a group, and it's like if that's what makes you happy, just do. Hey, that's good for you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think people like to say stuff like that because they know it's going to start an argument.
Yeah.
So let me just throw something in here and bash on Mezco a little bit.
Yeah, but
gotta evolve, man. Gotta evolve
with their comic figures. Their comic figures are on fire. Next one is NECA.
That's the company that I stopped collecting.
Really? Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I was in that time when the Turtles. You remember the movie Turtles were coming?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And you remember when they were selling out in 10 seconds and everything like that? So that was I tried getting it. I couldn't get it. I had to buy aftermarket, and then it was just too hard for me to collect the line.
Yeah.
I mean, if I put more effort into it, probably. But I've heard better things from them now. I love seeing some of their stuff, like the American Werewolf in London.
Yeah.
And they really got me. I haven't bought any, but the Universal Monster stuff.
Killer
I'm
team.
a junkie for that shit.
Yeah.
And so, but I still have that PTSD kind of from that stuff, and then that's my excuse not to collect them. But they look really great. I just
phenomenal.
Their
QC, they stepped it up.
I think
easily, readily available. Like I picked up all the monsters from Target. I picked up the Defenders of Earth, the Flash Gordon stuff from Walmart. I was telling you, freaking phenomenal. Like the Ming and the Flash Gordon, man.
And the Phantom.
The Phantom's killer.
Yeah.
Love the paint job, quality. Like I love it.
I'd say their distribution and availability has gotten way better. At least over the last 2 years, probably. I went to my Target recently, and I try not to hunt as much anymore. But just stacked with NECA. I couldn't believe it. It's like the most I've ever seen in the store before. So I don't know what's going on, or if they reproduced a lot of stuff. But please keep doing that.
You know what's good about it is like even with all these companies, like, and I look at it from a whole history standpoint. My experience that I had with them, it wasn't good. But if I look at it now, I would be more apt to go back and try to collect some of that stuff. But I like seeing how a company improved. It just takes time. And, like they're really doing some really good stuff. I would be tempted to go back, but like I said, I've really tried to have some restraint because all these other lines cost money.
Once you get with that Frankenstein or that mummy, killer.
Yeah, even the Frankenstein. They were doing like a variant. They had a color variant, and they had the black and white. And I looked at it, and I was like, Mezco's is cool because it has soft goods, but this is the sculpt and the paintwork looks really good.
Yep.
All right. Resist.
Next one is, and the last one, McFarlane Toys. We got Toddy Mac closing up the Dirty Dozen.
I love the vehicles.
Yes,
I cannot get away from the vehicles, man.
Yeah, you can't beat the price.
You can't, and that's something he's like locked into that other companies haven't really done yet. Is vehicles. I remember when I was a kid, we used to get these vehicles like Knight Rider. You used to get, these RC cars and all this other stuff. And I don't know if companies want to commit to it, but I just bought that. What is it? I don't know what it's technically called, but the big
Batmo Beast.
Yeah, I just bought that. I bought the bike. I bought the whatever that was, that Hell Cycle thing for Dr. Eternal. As far as figures, I don't have anything, but I'll buy the vehicles that he puts out.
Yeah, I'm more willing to get the vehicles. I think the figures myself as well.
Yeah.
That was it. That was our dirty dozen. You made it through. You survived the round.
Yay! Do
All
I get a
12
T-shirt?
rounds.
Do I get a T-shirt?
You get a
I
free
love
toaster,
t-shirts.
which may or may not work. Who knows?
Yeah, I've heard that from
May or may not show up.
It's like Prime
You know?
likes
And
that.
may or may not show up.
I was like, is he really giving toasters? Like, this is the second time he said that. And I was like, this is one of those inside jokes. And then I remember the beef thing. I'm like,
yeah, we've received quite a few DMs of promises that
like, where's my
Prime is made.
toaster?
Yeah, where's my toaster? Well, Paige, like we've said, we really appreciate you being on. It was awesome to be able to pick your brain. You're one of those guys I feel like I could just keep on talking to for hours. Just very easy to talk to, lots of knowledge. If you guys are listening, like I said before, please go subscribe to his YouTube, the Toy Paige. You can also find him on Instagram and Twitter at the Toy Paige, just like it sounds, but with an I in Paige. I said an A. Yeah. But please go follow him. And before we let you go, Paige, anything that you want to plug or any other socials that I didn't talk about there?
No, I wanted to tell both of you guys thank you so much for having me come on. And I've really enjoyed the work that you guys have been putting out. Like it takes a lot to grab my attention. And I'm telling you, when I saw that episode, the What's Your Why, I was like, wow. I think I reached out to both of you. I was like, man, this is good stuff. And so I would highly encourage anybody, if you're watching this episode, you haven't watched those, to like watch that, because I love thought-provoking content, and I love what you guys are doing. I steadily keep coming back to this, and so I appreciate what you guys are doing, man.
Knock it off, Paige. You're gonna make me tear up.
Yeah.
Man, I appreciate that.
Your support means a lot, really. Thank you very much for the kind words. We appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, man. No problem. I appreciate you guys having me on, man. Thank you so much.
So let's send Paige back to the champagne room.
Yay!
Man, what another awesome discussion with another fellow collector, an active collector in the community world, a community builder. I think with Dan who we talked about community builders. Here's another community builder. He's creating his own space. Make sure you guys check him out. He has a lot of amazing insight to offer. I love checking out his hangouts on IG, and hopefully we get him on some lives on YouTube.
Yeah, he's been a long-time fan. He's one of those guys that I wanted to have on the show for quite a while, so I'm glad that we finally got him. But yeah, please go show Paige support. And if you're worried about Mezco, updates on delays, he's always posting that stuff. So pay attention to his Instagram, because he does that just because he has the interest. He's not getting paid to do that stuff. So if you're viewing his page and you're like, hey, this is a release date I didn't know changed, make sure you say thank you to him, because I think that goes a long way. That's not stuff he's just doing for free. But yeah, huge thanks to Paige for being on. We really appreciate it. And thanks to you guys for listening to our last episode. We got some great feedback. If you haven't checked it out, please go subscribe to us on the Figure Booth on YouTube. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss any of our new shows.
Mm-hmm.
While you're there, hit the like button. It's a small gesture that means a lot and goes a long way. Leave a comment. What did you think about Paige's interview? What are some of your thoughts on Mezco? Is there a question maybe you want him to answer? Maybe we'll pass that along. But yeah, please leave a comment below that you've listened to it. Let us know your thoughts. We really appreciate it. And if you want to support the podcast, go to check out figurebooth.com. We've got a bunch of shirts available, one of which Prime is wearing right now. You can get all of our merch on the site, and even some of Prime's merch. Speaking of, you can order your own arcades on prime-arcade.com. He offers free shipping of any purchases over $100. There's a nice Leisure Suit Larry arcade right there that you can get as an example. But yeah, go support us. Go support the podcast. Go support Prime and support Paige. And thank you guys for listening.
Thanks, guys. And we'll catch you guys next time.
See you, everybody.